Seconds for everybody to kind of get going so we can get going and get started. Good evening. Welcome to Real Life Relationship Growth. I am Donna. Hope you guys had a great week. I had a good week, no complaints. Just enjoying this week. We are going to get started. Welcome to Real Life Relationship Growth. This is our weekly meetup, come together, get together, talk it out. This is our weekly segment, our weekly time that we come together every Thursday. We come together every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, and this is our weekly segment called Camper Conversations. So, Camper Conversations, real quick snippet. Camper Conversations was a brainchild of mine that started. I have a fifth wheel camper. I was sitting in it one day and I was like, yo, this will be a good idea to come here every week and talk about some stuff. Wasn't sure where it was going, but real life relationship growth came up, and that's where we are, and that's what we're doing. So we come together and we talk about topics that we as adults, as grown folks, deal with in relationships. So listen, this is the criteria for this family, for this group, for you to be a part. You have to be single, dating, courting, married, divorced, or a widower. That is the criteria. If you are an adult and you fall in any of those categories, this is the spot for you. This is the place for you, and I'm glad you're here. So, real quick housekeeping, real quick. I am planning a singles mixer in Atlanta in the coming future. Haven't narrowed down a date yet or exact location, but I want us to get together, come together, um, and I want us to come together and make sure that I'm sorry, I'm reading and talking. Make sure. I want us to come together, have this weekend to come together, have some games, some fun, some food, get to know some new people, new faces. But the big part about this weekend, the weekend that we're going to have, is we're going to have a live forum camper conversation. We're going to be passing the mic. We're going to pick a subject, a topic that's really interesting, something that we really want to get into and talk about. And that's what we're going to do. So that's upcoming. So let's get started. My intro. Hey, I am not a relationship expert. I don't claim to be. I don't proclaim to be. All I know, I'm a black woman in this world, living this life, doing the damn thing, and enjoying the hell out of it. That's who I am. Period. I have been through some things in life that maybe you have not experienced. You have been through some things that maybe I haven't experienced. But what we're here for is for each other. We're here for each other. We're not here to tell each other what we should do, but we're here to share some things and give some suggestions on what might help because there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new is going on in this life that went on 50 years ago, 70 years ago, relationship wise, because people are people. So we get into it and we talk about it. So tonight, listen, excuse me for last week, technical difficulties, trying to get my stuff together. My reception was not good. Talked to my tech, my IT guy, my partner King, and my cousin, and they helped me out. So hopefully things are looking a little better. Things are better, and you guys are seeing and hearing me better. All right. So again, as last week, my brother King was my that was my wingman. That was my help right there. That was my boy. So tonight we're gonna do this thing again because I was like, King, listen, I look bad, like my camera and all of that. So we're gonna do this thing again. That's not the only reason why I invited him to be here. I invited him to be here because I'm a woman. There are some things that my brain does not process as a man does. So I like to bring my brothers in and hear their perspective, hear their side of things. But we got a special feature tonight. I have two of my brothers on here. So the name of their podcast, I'm gonna let y'all see them in just a minute. I'm not even gonna give you their names. They have names, but I am gonna give you their podcast because I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Their podcast is called King and I Life. Both of these brothers, when I say brothers, I'm not just saying just a term of endearment, just whatever. When I say brothers, these are my brothers. We went to school together, high school together in Mannheim, Germany, class of 91. I think I'm going to have to ask, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have to ask Jeff because Jeff is on as well. I think Jeff was class of 91 too. But King was the first guy that I met going to Mannheim. The first guy that I met that was related as far as because when you overseas, you relate to people that are from the same state you're from. That's kind of how we come together at first. So King and I have been kicking it. Jeff and I have been kicking it. Woo! For a minute. So I'm gonna bring these brothers on camera, let them introduce themselves even further, and we're gonna get started with this topic tonight. All right, here we go. Hello, sirs.
What's going on? What's going on?
What's up?
Back again, back again.
Yes, tag team back again. Okay, okay.
There it is.
There it is. All right, all right.
Oh,
We gonna start with the brother in the middle with the army with the army, yeah, representing. Go ahead,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. I had just came for physical therapy, but yeah, like she said, I'm King. We've known each other for more than half our lives. Just to throw that out there,
All
Mannheim,
right.
Germany. Me, myself, class 91. Again, I'm King. I go by Soul Touch of the Poet, half of the King and I Life podcast. Outside of that, I have my own separate YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, Soul Touch of the Poet. So go check me out on that.
All right. And the man in the blue.
I'm Son Solex, otherwise known as Jeff. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, I'm the second half of the King and I Life podcast. I came behind my elders, my seniors here. I was in the class of '93, but hey, it's all good.
It's all
Um,
good. Manham is Manham.
that's
Yes,
it.
indeed.
So again, you
Yeah.
guys can find me on YouTube as well. Again, on the King and I Life podcast, or you can look me up at Sun Solex, Sun Solex 74 on Instagram. But I'm around. I'm out here.
You out here. Well, I appreciate you brothers being here. Thank you all so much um, for being here and helping me walk through this very delicate subject that
Man,
we are
yeah,
hitting this
yeah.
evening. This very delicate subject. So tonight, our topic tonight, men, we need you.
Mm,
Men, we need you. So I'm sure um, most, if not everyone, heard about on yesterday the death of Stephen Twitch Boss. Um, from what we're understanding and what we're hearing, this young king took his life. Took his life. He was 40 years old. Left behind a family, his wife and his three children. And you start to kind of wonder what makes someone who appears to have everything going on for them, a lovely wife or a husband, spouse, or whatever, children, a great career, what it appears, what makes them go to this point and want to take their lives. Before we kind of delve into that, I made a post yesterday. I believe you guys that at least for me, a lot of things are connected. Um, a lot of things are connected. I made a post yesterday I made a post yesterday. And it's pretty lengthy, so I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. I want you guys to go to the page and read it when you have a chance. I made a post yesterday, and it addressed men. It addressed men, and just kind of paraphrasing because it's kind of long. It talked about men's pressures, what they deal with in secret and in silence, and how they feel about certain things. This is before I found out about the death of Twitch. So when King and I were chatting yesterday, because he's helping me get all these things, this podcast going, and getting it on the right track. um, every week I get the question from someone, what's the topic going to be for Camp of Conversation? And the topic was definitely going to be something different tonight. But in he and I talking and looking at the events of the day, I realized that this needed to be the topic. This needed to be the topic tonight. So again, when you get a chance, please go to the page and look at the post. It's pretty lengthy, but it's worth the read. It's worth the read. So I want to also put in there, on real life relationship growth, we want to deal with both sexes. We want to deal because we all deal with things. Even though we're male and female, we think different, we feel different, we see things in a different manner. Sometimes we're built different. Although this situation dealt with one of our male brothers, I don't want to leave the ladies out, because, and we're going to talk about, even a little bit later, I'm going to give some a personal testimony, so to speak, about this subject itself. But I want to move on to the brothers, because again, they're spearheading our topic tonight. Men, we need you. I'm going to give y'all the floor, give y'all the mic, and go ahead and give y'all thoughts. Whichever one of you like to start.
So Lex, I'll give you the floor. Go ahead for it.
All right. Um, I think the biggest thing that's going on when it comes to men is we don't exactly open up a lot of times. There are a lot of battles and wars that we wage mentally, that we just don't bring it out and openly discuss it. Um, and it's hard. It's very difficult at times where we feel like it's us against the world,
Hmm.
and it's like you gotta, if you're a responsible man, you gotta take care of your family. You gotta take care of the responsibilities that come with having a family, whether that be your son. You gotta look out for your parents. If you're a brother, you gotta look out for your siblings, especially if you're the only male within that family.
Mm.
So then you have your kids, and then you have your work, and then you have your other things that you have going on, whether that be businesses or just whatever. It's at times it can be a lot. So
Mm.
just mentally trying to keep everything in order and in line, and then you got to check on yourself every now and then to make sure, hey, am I good? Because if you're not good, things around you tend to fall down. So, but I was blown away when I heard about this young man actually deleting himself, as they say. I was shocked. I mean, from the outside, everything looked like it's perfect. But
Right.
again, being a man and knowing what we as men go through, I kind of felt that um, deeply, because my heart went out to him, and especially to his family. Man, it's like one of the things that I've learned as a man, through certain things that happened to me, in my younger years, my childhood. Um, I mentally was going through things, and it came to a point where I kept making the same mistakes in life, and I had to figure out, why do I keep pushing this same button, meaning self-destruct buttons, when it comes down to certain relationships. So after, seeking counseling and going through counseling for a while, it really helped me resolve those issues that I had. And it put me in a better mental space where I could carry on my life without having to feel like I don't want to be here anymore. So again, I definitely know what it feels like to be in that space mentally, but at the same time, we have to reach out, whether it be with family, friends, or associates, somebody. You got to reach out and get help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To piggyback off of what both of y'all were saying, like when it comes to the testimonies part, I got a few things that I would, that I'm open to share. Um, but when it comes to this, you know, the one thing that kind of bothers me, and the one thing that kind of, for lack of a better term, am a little noticing that it brings light to it is that when this happens to famous people, it seems like the world feels it, but
Mm.
um, there are, as of 2020, over 45,000 suicides in America. Um, Globally, there's about 800,000 suicides, and that's about one suicide every 40 seconds.
Mm.
Um, the thing about it is, as men, um, we've all been through the pride thing when not reaching out for help. We've all been through the expectations of being a man, so that prevents men from seeking help. Um, but one of the bigger parts, and this is one thing that I've experienced in my life, is not having anyone around you that you trust, that you can express these things to. And when I say not around you to trust, I'm talking about your immediate family. And I will openly say, I don't feel like I can go to my immediate family if I was struggling. And I felt like that my entire life. So that's an indication of what a lot of men, especially Black men, are going through every day. And I can say I have a bucket full of stuff in me. It's not as tight as it used to be, but I grew up with a bucket full of stuff. Um, with Twitch committing suicide, it was a shocker to me because, like, anytime I went on TikTok, it was like they happy, they great, they doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, the other shocker suicide that happened recently was Jason David Frank, for those who watch Power Rangers.
Mm.
Um, Same age as me, 49. Um, he kind of committed suicide the same way Twitch did. Uh, from his wife, and next thing you know, committed suicide. So this is a topic that needs to be talked about. Men out there need to know that, and women as well. And I tell women this all the time: you cannot help anybody if you can't help yourself. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is, if you're consumed with helping everybody else and you're bottling your stuff in, no matter what that stuff is, you're going to either implode or explode. And people need to know that that's not healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever the case may be.
Right. Right. Totally agree. I think a lot of times you hit on it, King. People don't feel like they can go to anyone about how they're feeling and what they're thinking and what they're dealing with. So they take these things internally and they deal with it and they do it with a smile on their face, and
Mhm.
they put on a good show out in public in front of everyone, and then in the quiet hours and the quiet times they're breaking down and they're hurting. And I think all of us to some degree have been to a point of being down and depressed,
Mhm.
you know, that it's almost like, for what? Like, what is this for?
Right.
Like, I don't even see the good in this, and I don't even see why. We deal with different traumas that make us feel the way we feel and act the way we act. We deal with different things, things in our past, and and sometimes things right there that's prevalent right now in life, and do it in secret. And you also made a good point. However you deal with things, whether you're on a path, however your spiritual life may be, however your growth may be, whoever you trust and confide in, we have different belief factors. We have different belief factors. And I never question what someone believes or does not believe. I always just say, whatever your source of strength is, hone in on that. Go to that.
Yeah.
Because we always don't have the capacity. We have to realize that everyone does not have the capacity to deal with what we're dealing with. So sometimes when we feel like there's no one there, it's possible that the people that we're going to and who we feel we should be able to go to, family members, friends and things like that, they may not react in a way that we would want them to or need them to, that someone would want or need them to. So we have to also realize that everyone doesn't have the capacity to deal with what we're dealing with. And it's not a point of us getting angry with them or being like, you're not there for me, you don't care. That's a part of the process. And I personally have never been to a point where I felt like I there's a thing called sympathy and empathy. And they have two different meanings for a reason. I can sympathize with something I've experienced. I just have to give empathy with something I have not experienced.
Right.
Right.
So we have to determine where we are and how we can help. But it seems so easy to tell somebody, oh, you'll be okay. I saw a meme the other day on Facebook, and it said, when a mother tells you she can't do this, she's had enough, she's tired, to turn around and tell her, oh, you got this, is really borderline insensitive.
Yeah.
She just told you she was tired and she can't do this, But again, the weight of someone else's world is not always easy to take on. We have to pull from that source and that strength that we've come to love and understand, to know how to be here for others. But I want to kind of stick with the men, with the brothers for a minute. So ladies, we're gonna veer just right here with the brothers. As a woman, I feel like one of my positions in life is to help my man, is to be there for him. And I have to say, a lot of times we as women, because for those who believe what the Bible may say, or not even just the Bible, but I know there's different sources that say different things. A woman was created to be a helpmate, So, and that's something, ladies, that we have to take very, very seriously, because a help means I'm falling and I can't get up. So that help should come in and lift that fallen, person up, or try to help them up, and and try to help them get to that next level, or pull them up. But I don't think we can empathize with what you all are dealing with day in and day out. And I have to say this, especially the Black man, day in and day out. Not that men of other races don't deal with things, But we do just know that as a race of people, there's some things that come down on us that don't come down on others.
Right.
So, um, again, as a woman, when we see a man being weak, what we call weak, or what could be displayed as weak, or he's not doing the things that we expect or that society says that he should do, there's this stigma of, oh, he's no good, or he's not trying, or you a man, get up. You know what I hate to hear, y'all?
What's
In my
that?
line of business, I hate to hear for someone to tell a little boy, don't cry.
Mm,
Boys don't cry.
mm.
Boys don't cry. And I say to myself, of course, if it's said at the daycare center, I ain't gonna lie, I'll say it to somebody in the street too. So, but if I hear someone say that, my first thought is we were put together and fashioned as perfect, our bodies, like fingers,
Mhm.
toes, and hearts, and blood pumping, and tears. So you mean to tell me because he's a male, he's not supposed to cry? Like, and I think that shuts down the male emotion from little itty bitty. And sometimes we don't even recognize and realize, because a guy is supposed to be strong. He's supposed to be able to do all these things and hold us up and do this and do that. But as a woman, and as I get older, and the mistakes that I made in life and relationships, because this real life relationship growth, I
Mhm.
realized that my place in position, one of my places in position, I was not standing in as I should have necessarily. So, what I'm saying to the ladies is we have to stop stigmatizing our men as weak and no good and, just lazy and things like this. And we have to look further into what's the source and reason why he's feeling, acting, and moving the way he is. I'm gonna get off my soapbox for a second. I'm gonna let y'all kind of grab that. 'Cause
Oh man.
so let me ask y'all that. I want to pose a question to the brothers. Like, how does that really, really make you feel when the woman or the children, the people that's looking at you for support, um, does not give you room to move with your emotions? Like, what does that do?
I'll
Mm.
let you take this one first.
Ooh, that's a hard one. It's kind of like an insult to a man's presence, period. Um, this is something that really has not affected me in that way,
Mm-hmm.
but I've observed it, and I've done something in my life that a lot of people do, period, when it comes to this. Um, I've taken on someone else's struggle when it comes to that.
Mm,
And what I'm saying is like, oh, a man ain't supposed to cry. And I'm sitting there like, oh, man, a man ain't supposed to cry. But in my truth, I'll cry.
mm-hmm.
But to hear that and to look at other men, because I've been through some things in my life to where someone who could not manage well probably would have done something reckless to themselves all the way up to committing suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but women, people need to understand that it's okay to cry. And the one thing that I have observed throughout my lifetime, when they say men are not supposed to cry, uh, it's okay for a man to cry at a wedding. It's okay for a man to cry at a funeral. It's okay for a man to cry at the birth of his child.
Mm,
And those are three very significant things in a man's life. Very significant. So that is to say that it's okay for a man to cry and he should not be condemned for crying. The other thing that I have seen where men get criticized for or for attempting to express emotions is, you may have a woman who's not cognizant or don't care what she's projecting onto a man. She would tell a man, hey, you can't cry. But if her son cries, it's okay.
It's okay.
If her father is crying, it's okay. So when you look at these situations, you have to look at every man as every man. If it's okay for your son to cry, it's okay for your significant other to cry. If it's okay for your father to cry, it's okay for your significant other to cry. And stop boxing people into different categories because of who they are and what they're going through. Because, hey, as you said, we're all human. We're uniquely put together. All these systems in our body work a certain way. Like when my son is playing soccer or running track, he loses a game or they don't win a track meet. I'm not saying, hey, be a man, don't cry. Come on, man. It's good. You good. You got this. You came a long way. Look forward to next year. Stuff like that. Because I've been in those shoes before. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, don't cry. I'm not going to make him feel less than a man in front of a woman or in public because he's crying, because this is something that's significant to him. And that's one thing that women need to understand. If it's something that's he's passionate about or serious about or really, really cares about, give him that room to express that emotion and be there to support him so that he knows he has someone out there to support him and he does not have to bottle that in to the point where he's imploding or exploding.
Right.
Man, you cleared the board on that one, man. You didn't leave a whole lot of meat for me to get off on that one. But
hey, you can spin. You got your own spin on it.
Yeah, I had a little bit on that.
But, yeah, I definitely agree that men should have a space where they feel comfortable to cry. A lot of times, we being the pillars of our families, we don't want to express those type of emotions. And again, it's because we've been taught, men don't cry. And, a part of your pride won't let you cry, even when it is something that's very deep and close to you. Like for me, the only reasons I cry is 1 for family, 2 for friends, or 3 for, the combination of the both. But other than that, I really don't find myself, crying like that, even though I can get emotional sometimes, depending on subject matter. But I don't know. I just think that when it comes down to expressing yourself, you have to let it go. Whether that's taking, being by yourself or taking a drive, you got to let that out. Because if you don't, again, like King was saying, you're going to implode or explode. And that's never a good thing. But yeah, I definitely agree that space is necessary. And it doesn't make you any less of a man because you express yourself through your emotions. There are times, again, like when you're having a child, that's the most beautiful thing in the world. I think one of the most beautiful things in the world. So expressing yourself through your tears, there's nothing wrong with that. You're getting married. That's a big step and a big change in your life. Of course, you're going to be emotionally, feel with everything going on. Someone passing in your family or a friend, you go to thinking about all the good times you had with that person and all the things you and that person did. Like it can become very overwhelming. So yeah, I definitely feel like each man should take that time and that space and just let it go. Meaning, cry if you need to.
Right.
Hey, before we go on, shout out to Seymour Bell because he has a poem out there that he, turned into a piece of musical art called Real Men. And it kind of is kind of relative to the subject.
Okay.
Very relative. Very dope. Check it out.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. And everybody, Seymour Bell, we're gonna have to check that out. So I want to kind of go on the side of mental health,
Mm-hmm.
the mental health side of it, because it definitely encompasses a lot: depression, anxiety, all of these things. And sometimes it could be a situation with someone that is not from outside sources. Is
Mm-hmm.
that internal, that
Right.
chemical imbalance that puts people in a position where they're dealing with being depressed, and they're dealing with you know those hard emotions that they don't know how to regulate, and
Mm-hmm.
they haven't learned the skill of regulating those emotions.
Right.
um, and so, on the side of mental health, on the side of there's just that chemical imbalance in the brain that takes that person over the top and puts them in a certain place. And like I said, they can't really regulate. They haven't learned the skill to regulate those emotions. Um, we have to we can't negate that from this conversation. I don't think. I feel
Right.
like because it's a part of the whole network of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my daughter, I hope she doesn't mind. I know she's not gonna mind. Dealt really heavy and hard with that. She too was one of those gifted, growing, just vibrant, doing her thing, young person who we had no idea that it had gone to the point of her feeling how she was feeling. She got to a point of being suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me one day. I had COVID, so she and my nephew left the house and they went to stay with a family friend, with a family member rather. And she called, and I knew she was going through some things,
Mm-hmm.
because since pretty much her being a teenager, um, she had been going through some emotional, some mental health issues. But I never expected it to get to the point where my child was saying she was this close,
Mm-hmm.
if not closer, to taking her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she called and she said, I'm going to admit myself. I'm admitting myself to the hospital. And I so many emotions, of course. We're talking
Right.
about that child. Um, and the only thing that I could think to tell her was, I am so proud of you. I
Mm-hmm.
screamed and hollered after I got off that phone.
Right.
But I told her, I am so proud of you. Like, you don't understand how major what you did was by making the decision to go and get some help, because she was in a place where she could not regulate those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how good it looked, how much she danced in auditions, and because that's her thing, she's a dancer, she's teaching dance, she's going to auditions, she's doing video shoots. My baby was like 10 up inside.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Um, and I had no clue of what to do with that. Like, I was saying things to her that was not helping.
Mm-hmm.
And by her going into the hospital and staying for about a week, of course, they gave her tools. They gave her tools to learn how to regulate those emotions. And they also gave the family tools to learn what to say and what not to say and what
Mm-hmm.
things are triggers. So I want to talk about the the depression and the suicidal thoughts that come where a person feels like, I have no control over this, like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
that's because we always associate it with something negative and something bad happens. And so I definitely want to talk about that side of it where again, nothing happens. I can't even control this. So what are y'all thoughts on, being brave enough to go and get that help and doing something better for yourself?
I mean, the one thing that always stands out to me when people are facing those type of situations is if people don't know what you're going through, they can't help you. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have enough fortitude to see it, within yourself that I need help. A lot of times we have mental situations going on where again we feel like we're battling the world. Like, no one can help me get through this. I can
Mm-hmm.
talk to families and some friends and they still can't relate directly to what it is that I'm saying. So at that point, again, when you know that there's something going on with you mentally and you need help, like your daughter did, she said, I got to get myself some help. And I'm letting you know what's going on with me to the extent that I need to get help. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I find that to be a very brave thing. Um, a lot of people, again, have this stigma of, going through counseling and, seeing a psychiatrist, psychologist, however you want to call it, that there's, that's bad. There's something
Yeah,
wrong.
there's something negative to it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
It's just the same as something wrong with your wrist. You spring your wrist and you're like, man, that don't feel right to me. There's something wrong there. Let me
Right.
go and get the necessary help I need to get my wrist back right. But yeah, I find that people who can recognize that about themselves and take the necessary steps to get themselves some help, I find those to be some of the bravest people on this planet. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's always help out here. There's always resources out here. But the thing is, you as an individual, you have to take that step for yourself to take the opportunity to get it because it's there.
Right.
And again, I'm not, I'm not a trained psychiatrist or none of that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming from a place of experience where I, like I said, through earlier childhood traumas, there were things I was holding on to for many of years, feeling like I was the reason certain things happened to me. But,
Mm-hmm.
after talking with, a trained psychiatrist and finding out, just expressing myself of what it was like for me and, going through that counseling, it helped me out tremendously. Like I was carrying a whole building on my back that I was the only one who knew what was in the building.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like that. But once I got that help, man, I felt freer than a bird. So
Yeah.
again, that put me back on the necessary course for my life, I feel. So I definitely encourage people who are going through things like that, man, you got to speak out and say, I need help.
Right. Right. I'm sorry, y'all. I want to recognize. I'm sorry, I can't recognize some of our comments. Lakeisha says she experienced that with her son. It takes courage for them to admit that they are feeling those emotions. Most definitely. A little bit. Seymour Bell said, "Real men express. Real men open up. It's unhealthy to conceal." Claudette said, "It says Paul Rogers, but I know that's Claudette." That's my big sister, y'all.
Okay.
Hubby name is Paul. Okay, depression is in. I'm sorry.
Insidious.
Sorry. I'm trying, but let me stop.
We got to put the eyes on.
There it is. Oh wow. Depression is insidious. It can sneak up on you I don't know why I don't put these on. It's crazy.
Mm.
Sometimes I forget that they're there and I'm squinting like crazy. It can throw you for a loop. However, it can be resolved with some work and communication amongst your caregivers. Very true. Very true. Yes, it takes courage. Okay, I'm sorry. I wanted to acknowledge some of the comments. Oh, and there it goes. I want to acknowledge
Yeah.
some of the.
Yeah, I was gonna do that too.
Okay.
Yeah, because Seymour Bell said, you know, the rest of his comment, real men know what it means to emote, not to brag, had to learn it and just sharing. Um, I can definitely relate to that because I had to learn what it means to emote. I had to learn how to not keep piling stuff on, even though I still pile stuff on, so to speak, to in a way. But um, one of the big things that I've learned throughout life is that it takes a nurturing environment that to allow you to be comfortable to express certain things. Um, 2017, when we went to the Bratz reunion in Charlotte, um, my son and his mother called me three way, and he was going through it. Um, and it was like, in the army, I went through. I'm a master resilience trainer, and I also went to an assist class, applied suicide intervention skills training. So taking those two courses, it allowed me to communicate certain things to him in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm paraphrasing here, but one of the things that I asked him, because um, he was saying, you know, my kids will be all right and blah 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 and this that and the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I asked him, and in a way, how do you think we would feel as your parents if you did something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And that gave him the space to put him in the shoes of how it would make how not make us feel, how we would feel if we lost him. And when he spoke that out of his mouth, I said to him, well, just imagine how your children would feel, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But not seeking that help is one of those things that's is tragic. um the other thing that I've seen is that instead of us men, our children, our young boys, instead of them being finding the words or the drive or the desire to open up, they tend to take on what they see out in society. And what I mean by that, we see the celebrities do it. We hear about the celebrities doing it, this, that, and the other. And this is something that has been going on for decades and generations. They feel like, well, I guess that's the way out.
Mm.
You know, I can ease the pain that way. I can be rid of this, that, and the other. And although they're going through something to a degree, it's kind of selfish because it's like, if you think or that you can talk to somebody, why go through that pain alone? Additionally, why put someone else through that pain? But then this is a bigger conversation of having the ability as a group, as a family, as a community to break down those walls and be able to have open dialogue in several different ways, creating a safety net for everyone. That way, there is no stigma of, well, you're a man, beat your chest, suck it up. No. If
Mm-hmm.
that man, that boy is in distress or anything like that, he should have the room to reach out, and he should not feel like he can't reach out. um, I've been through counseling too, and from what I learned, over the years, this counseling is something that you got to graduate out of. It gives you the basics, but it takes you on the inside to build upon that and be able to relearn how to cope with stress. The one thing that I've seen a lot of people forget that they have done throughout life is persevere through downfalls and knockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Experience we experience this every day of our life from the moment we have an inkling of understanding of emotion.
Yeah.
From the inkling, because it's like, and I look at people and I listen to them and I'm like, well, what happened yesterday that you're here today? Oh, I did blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Well, remember when you was 5 years old and you went through this, that, and the other, and you thought it was the end of the world?
Mm-hmm.
Then you laugh, smile later that day. Didn't that thing go bye? And it's the mind is a delicate and difficult place, but it's something that we all can take heed to understanding better with each other.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm going to go back a little bit on a comment that you made, because again, this is us dealing with experiences maybe someone else has not, and giving maybe our experiences to kind of help. So you said something to the effect of selfishness on the part of the person who's feeling suicidal, or or people that have taken their lives, and the ones left back talking on selfishness. So one thing that I was taught through the process with my daughter, and through her psychiatrists and her counselors, is and no insult, it's almost a normal thing to say, but I was taught you don't call them selfish.
Okay.
And the reason they said you don't call them selfish, because we feel like that, and I was feeling that way, and I was like, how dare you take yourself away from us, me, right. So selfish that is the word for it. But what I learned and what I was taught through the professionals was that it's not about you.
Right.
And when she said that, I was like, dang.
Kick me in the gut.
Right. Because, in your back of your mind, it's not about you, because you're trying to be there for that person. Right. But she said you have to understand her thought process when she's in these places, when she's in these dark places in her mind. And when you say things like, it would be selfish, or, we would miss you, you think it's something that sounds, it sounds like, you're being comforting and loving, like, let them know how important they are. She said it actually has the opposite effect, because at that time, especially if they're in a place where their mental is not in the right space and they're not thinking logically, she said all it does is put more of a burden on them. They're like, well, damn, I can't do nothing right.
Yeah.
And that shocked me. I was like, wow, because I'm not there, so I wouldn't understand that would be the thought process. So I would find myself wanting to say certain things to my daughter, and then I would be like, okay, am I supposed to say it like that? And I learned in different tactics, different people, different situations. And I'm not going to say that just because this particular psychiatrist said that to me, that's the exact way. But I'm going to take, it's like a learning experience, and we'll see how this works, and we'll see how this goes. But they don't think during the time of what's going on, that this is not even about anybody else. This is about me. So when you come at me with, we're gonna miss you, because I said that to her. I even said, if you go, I'm going, because I can't be here without you.
Oh man. That's a heavy thing right there.
Right.
It is very
Yeah.
heavy.
Now that right there was like, well, dang, you really shouldn't have said that.
Right.
But this is a part of the statement I made earlier about us not always having the tools.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a learning process for everyone. So I say all that to say this. If you're dealing with a friend, a family member, a coworker, or even a stranger you may come upon that you realize or that's dealing with areas of depression and anxiety and things of that nature, we have to get schooled just like we're asking them to be schooled.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to take them to get help, we can't just drop them off and say, oh, I got you here. Now you do it. Because honestly, they don't have the resources, the mental, or however we want to put that, to do it. This is a part of us being there for one another. And I have to take this kind of this way for a minute. In relationships I feel like don't last because of that S word, selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
We get to the point of we're saying, well, he's not doing what I expect, or she's not making me happy, or she's not this and he's not that. And we're not looking at each other as, you know what, there was a you before I even came along.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're dealing with, I have to understand that ain't even about me,
Mm-hmm.
but it may be coming out on me. So I have to realize, okay, where am I in my space of being prepared and ready to be in a relationship or move forward with this relationship or stay in this relationship? Where am I that I can have the capacity to understand this other person? Because when someone does something to us, especially our spouse, if our spouse does something to us, we take it personal.
Very.
Of course, we gonna take it personal. Cause I'm like, whoa, what you say?
Yeah.
We take it personal. And not saying that it gives people a pass to mistreat us and say what they want and do what they want. But I've learned to kind of sit back and be like, okay, why did he say that like that?
Mm-hmm.
Why did he do that in that manner? Again, you don't let people walk over you and do what they want. But the selfish, not being selfish, says that we have to step back and say, why did they do that or say that?
Mm-hmm.
And then have those conversations. Hey, I want to talk to you. You said something and it hurt my feelings. And I just need to understand what made you say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't come straight out like that. We just get mad. And women tend to like shut down, be like, I'm just not gonna talk to him. I ain't gonna say nothing. And give
Mm-hmm.
the silent treatment. So in this aspect, I believe we have to think of it in the same way because it's a relationship.
Yeah.
We talk about relationships, we automatically think male, female, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. No, relationship is you and your mama, you and your auntie, you and your brother. Those are all relationships.
Yeah.
So when we dealing with in a relationship with a family member or a friend that says, I don't want to be here anymore, this is too hard, we have to get into a point where we normalize not saying, well, do this and do that and you should do this and why you feel like that, and we have to kind of normalize doing that and get into this space. We got some comments. King, you want to hit them?
Yeah. So Lakeisha was talking about the week her son expressed that he had thoughts of suicide. There were two parents on her timeline who lost their 16-year-olds to suicide within 4 days of each other.
Wow.
What do you say to the young boys who don't see getting on the other side of this emotional block that happens?
Read that last end again. I'm not seeing it. Okay. All right.
What do you say to the young boys who don't see getting on the other side of this emotional block that happens? In my opinion, I charge the parents with knowing their children. It's not, and as a parent, I know we are not perfect, because I know as a child growing up, and even as an adult, when someone says, "Hey, are you good? You all right? What's up with you?" "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Mhm.
good." "Well, you're not like you. I'm good." So we have to understand that we need to know our children, and also we need to be able to also ask other questions, um, and not those questions that uh, encourage a child to say yes, no, okay. We
Mm-hmm.
have to ask questions that bring forth a conversation. So that's one of the things that we can do to help these young boys get to the other side of those blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also paying attention to habits, and old habits, new habits, and habits that you ain't never seen before.
Right.
We have to pay attention to those things. So before we go on to the next comment, anybody else got any input on that one?
I just did. You like covered that really well. But I just want to say to one of the statements you said. Um, Making conversation. Like I'll ask. I try to call my nieces and nephews, and like every week, I'm trying to talk to all of them, as many as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll ask them, or any of the kids, "How was your day?" The after schoolers come to the daycare, and I'll be like, "How was your day at school?" "It was good." What made it good?
Exactly.
I hit them with that every time. So, so, so my these are usually, of course, my great nieces and nephews, because my nieces and so I'll call them, and they'll be like, they got to be ready when Aunt Donna called. You got to be ready, because
Right.
you can't just tell her you had a good day, and then that messes me up sometimes, because they'll give it all to me, and I'll be like, okay,
Whoa, whoa. I
for
did ask
5
for it
minutes.
though.
Well, this what happened.
Oh man.
But you're right. You have to open up conversations. You have to ask those little questions that lead to more.
Yeah. So like, did you have something on that one too?
Um, I would just add, man, with these young kids, where they're at, their time is different than our time. You know, we face certain things back in our generations. You know, when we're coming through school, the biggest thing we had to worry about was homework and bullies. Um,
Mm,
but
Mm.
now they got this whole internet and social media and all kinds of things. So their generation is different. Their mental problems or mental situations that are different than ours.
yeah.
So you kind of have to put yourself in their predicament or their situations, and really, like you said, ask questions. Um, One thing that I know as a man that uh, anytime I'm talking to someone younger than me, I make my energy go up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always in a even if I'm feeling bad, I make my energy go up when I'm talking to them because I want them to feel a positive energy coming from me.
Right.
Especially when I'm talking to one of my nieces or one of my younger cousins, I'm overly excited to talk to them. I talk to
Mm.
them like I haven't talked to them in years, even though it was just yesterday.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another thing I would say is encourage these young men and women to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Like they like to hang out in their rooms and play their video games and things of that
Okay.
nature, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
But get them out of the house. Even if you guys just go to the park and go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
again, ask questions. Again, like you're saying, how was your day? If it was good, what was so good about it? If it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
so good, okay, what happened?
What happened? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, the one great thing I think about as far as being an older person and being able to give advice to our younger generation is I've gone through a lot of things in my life. And although my experiences may be different than their experiences, I still have my experiences, and that information alone is valuable to the younger generation. So anytime I get a chance to talk to them again, I just take my energy way up, way up. Like
Mhm.
I'm you're the most exciting person in the world that I ever talked to.
Yeah.
So that's just a couple of things you can do, man. But yeah, just get them out the house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Seymour Bell said he loves some of the suicide awareness acronyms. Ask, do you feel suicidal? Care, be there, listen, take them to get help. And we do suicide awareness training several times a year, and that's one of the things that they push. They give us a little a card with the same information on it. And you see the suicide prevention lifeline and crisis lifeline numbers up there on the screen. But yeah, that is something that I can say, since I've been in since 91, active duty, Air National Guard, Army National Guard. um, from then to now, this is something that is spoken about a lot. You know, it's like they are really trying to take the stigma out of suicides. And, I can say, from going into 91 to now, they are doing a very good job, but still, um, people go through stuff, and people shut down. People feel like there's no hope out there. People feel like there's no help out there. People feel like nobody's going to listen. People feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And, as you were saying, we have to be careful of what we're saying, and we have to stop thinking about ourselves, uh,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, you're right. It's not about us. And I learned that when I took the assist class. The one, and I encourage, if you anybody out there that could take the assist class, again, that's applied suicide intervention skills training. If you can take that class, because it will they put you in a situation to where you are talking to someone who is thinking about committing suicide. And the one thing that I learned in that class was I was very abrasive to a person who was thinking about suicide. I,
Mhm.
I did not know it
Yeah.
because I'm in that situation. But the instructor of the class was like, "Hey, well, you said this, that, and the other. You could have said it like this. What you were saying, how it sounded like you were saying the right thing. That person, like you were saying,
Mhm.
they don't see that, and,
Mm-mm.
and the way that you're putting it can push that person over the edge. So I encourage look, these classes are out there. I encourage everyone to take these classes. There's videos on YouTube about this stuff. So I definitely encourage everyone to take these classes so that you know what to say, get an idea of how to say it, or who to call, or where to take a person.
Right. Right. Most definitely. Most definitely. So we're at about 9:10. A little bit over, but you know what? When we having good conversations, a lot of times we don't even pay attention to the time.
True
Um,
that.
I put on my shirt. I had another shirt I was gonna put on, but I changed it. I don't know if y'all can see.
Love.
Love, love. Well, lovely, but we gonna take off the L and the Y. It was close enough. I was like, I know I have a shirt that says love on it. I know I
Right.
have a shirt. Then I saw this one and I was like, okay. So I really wasn't supposed to go up that far. So let me stop right there. So, okay. All
Uh,
right. So love, love covers all things when done in a correct manner. Everybody doesn't feel love the same. Everyone doesn't receive love the same. And that's a part of us getting to know people, getting to know each other. If
mhm.
you're going to take the time to allow someone into your space, that means you should take the time to get to know them, to understand them. And
Right.
we're not going to always agree, but love encompasses all things. Love takes away
Mhm.
selfishness, because if we think about it, if we throw love in there, it's going to slow us down from thinking about ourselves first. Not
Mhm.
that we should not love ourselves. It is very, very crucial that we have self love first. And I
Right.
always say this my little ding, ding, ding counseling. We've been putting it out there, putting it in there, saying it. Counseling is the best gift, money spent, time you can give yourself.
Yes,
You can
indeed.
give yourself counseling. Um, some of our men tend to shy away from counseling.
Yeah, I hear you say
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna let you tackle why men shy away from counseling, because I was getting ready to give a little breakdown, but I'm not a man.
Yeah. It's that ego, it's that pride, it's the expectation, it's what are people going to think of me? People going to think I'm
Mm,
weak. But
mm,
at the end of the day, look at counseling like this. When you're coming up, you don't know how to work on the car. You go to
ah,
someone to help you work on the car. When you're coming up, you might not know how to cook. You got to go to somewhere for somebody to teach you how to cook. You may not know how to balance your checkbook, your bank account. You go to somebody for that. So look at it like this: when you're struggling with something mentally, emotionally, or whatever, it's the same thing. You go to
same
somebody for the
thing.
help. And the one thing that I will challenge any man out there that's listening tonight, or anyone who knows a man who needs to hear this, go to counseling and be honest with yourself. Give it your all. Because another thing that a lot of men doing, and I can say I was guilty of it when I went to counseling the first time, I didn't want to open up. I was just going through the motions because I was like, this ain't gonna work. This ain't for me. This is
Mm,
this is nonsense. Whatever. Let me just, all right, whatever.
mm,
But once I sat there and I gave it an honest chance, and my body let me give an honest cry, I
mm.
felt the breakthrough. And that gave me the motivation to continue with it and allow myself to be honest with the struggles that I had and I did not know I had. And that's another thing.
Mm.
Sometimes we don't know what is going on with
Going
us
on.
because we don't allow ourselves to open up. And don't be ashamed to open up. And I would, trust me, I was a very shy person growing up, and I'm still fairly shy. So I'm speaking from experience on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jeff, you got something on that?
Yeah. When I went to counseling, I gave him the business. I gave him everything. Like, I wasn't holding back anything. And it's kind of funny because at the end of the session, I remember my psychiatrist saying, "You should write a book about your life."
Mm.
But yeah, man, I would just like my brother was saying, when you go to counseling, man, just it's kind of like having a conversation with God, dang near, if you believe in a higher power, man. It's just let it go.
Mm,
Whatever it is, if you start from your childhood all the way up to where you at now, or if you want to start from where you at now all the way back to your childhood, whatever it is, go ahead and talk to this person about it because they're trained.
yeah,
They don't get those little degrees or those degrees by chance. They actually have to put in some time and effort to get those.
right.
And plus you paying for it. One way or another.
Yeah.
But some of us, some of us had to pay for it. But
Right,
if
right.
you gonna pay this man or that woman's fee, you might as well go ahead and get your money's worth. And again, if it's free, still get your money's worth.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Another thing I want to throw out there is, and Seymour Bell just said it too, and
Yeah,
I was
perfect
we on the
example.
same page. Where the fellas at with journaling? Look, um,
Ooh,
I'm gonna
nice.
say this
Big one.
along with journaling. Poetry has been one of my best counselors.
Mm,
And I say that because I don't feel comfortable or have not felt comfortable talking to people about whatever I was going through. But those pages don't talk back. Those pages listen. Those pages keep your secrets. And
mm,
those pages allow you to let no matter what it is off of your chest. And
yeah.
the one thing that I have done is I've taken some of those painful poetry rights from my experiences and I presented them to the world. And, as hesitant as I was, I got thanked for speaking about being molested, um, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And, and I was like, damn, I'm not the only one that goes through this.
Yeah.
Even though I knew I wasn't,
Right.
to actually hear someone say it, it's like, wow. And it kind of takes a burden off your chest and allows you to open up more because you're not alone. And there
Mhm.
are people who share that same experience and you can have a conversation with them. And that's another form of counseling because you have someone who you relate to. You may know this person, you may have just met this person may be in the audience, but that's an unbiased ear that you can use to help you help yourself.
Definitely.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful thoughts. And ladies, you as well. Us as well. Us as well. Because I have to real quick, my experience with counseling, same thing kind of with King. I was kind of closed because I knew everything already. I already knew it. Like, what they gonna tell me?
Right.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I was
Mm.
pleasantly surprised, which allowed me to open up and like Jeff said, that woman was probably like, dang, at this point. No, 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 she wasn't. She was very helpful. She's still very helpful. I love her. I can say I love my counselor. Like she gonna get something for Christmas.
I know that's right. I know that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Like you said, things you didn't realize were problems and issues, and things you felt like that I'm at my wits' end. There's nothing else I can do. There's nowhere else I can go. But when you get in counseling and you start talking and you start journaling and you start, because that's a major part. They tell you
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
journal, and you start talking and you start listening and you start hearing and seeing is a major change. So I'm gonna pop this up again before we leave, before we say our goodbyes, because even if you don't need this number, you may know someone who does. If you need this number, I pray that you use it, and know that there is always something better. We've made it this far. We have
Yes.
made it this far. We have made it this far, and we can continue to make it on even further. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know when our last day on this earth may be. We don't know that, but we know we can enjoy the process while we're here. While we're here.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
hey, love on each other. Find somebody to love on. Speak to a stranger. You never know who you may be affecting, who you may be helping. You never know. I've heard many stories. I just heard one yesterday. A friend of mine said he told a joke to a lady, and I don't. I'm kind of paraphrasing the story, but it fits. He told her a joke just off chance they were talking or whatever, and he told her a joke, and she laughed, and she told him, you know what? I was going to kill myself today.
Wow.
Going to take my life. She said, but when you said that joke and you made me laugh, it just did something.
Mm.
So we never know. what that little joke or that little smile or that little good morning or whatever can do. And if you're on the other side of it and you need a good morning, you need a laugh, you need a joke, just please reach out and talk to someone. If it's easier to talk to a stranger, there's information, there are numbers that you can call and do that. If you have family members or friends, someone you can confide in, I promise you, they love you and they want you to talk to them. They want you to talk to them. Let's do this thing together, y'all.
Yeah, let's do it together. Yeah,
Together.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, these days there's apps for this stuff. So, you can
Oh, yeah.
download an app and do this.
Yeah.
But again, yes, we are in this together. I think me and Son Solex gonna hit this topic up this Sunday. Um, and it'll be a panel discussion. So anybody out there want to join in with us, subscribe to the King and I Life podcast, and we'll have a panel discussion for however long it goes. So that's all I have. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Well, I'm going to say good night to my brothers. I really appreciate y'all men. Y'all grown men. We
Yeah.
we grown.
Man, look.
Yeah.
I remember being a teenager thinking that the world was too much, and here I am.
Yep.
Be 50 in a couple months, and I'm saying, you know what? I've come a long way. I've accomplished more than I thought I would, and for myself, for my experiences, I have told myself and I've convinced myself that life is not that hard because I have learned how to manage my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings, and all of that stuff. Everybody does things a different way, and I'm just saying what I've been through, I've come a long way.
Yeah, that's our new catchphrase. Life is not that hard.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. I would say it now. So you be throwing stuff out there, but I'm stealing it. Life is not that hard. I'm about to post it.
I know that's right.
Life is not that hard. Not overlooking where you are, but just know where you can be. Because life is not that hard.
Know where you came from.
That felt good. That was nice.
No, I'm glad that you brought up the subject of us, going to school together. And I will say this to any young person who may be listening. While we were going through school, we thought school was, fun and entertaining, and then there was the pure pressure of trying to be the popular kid or hang with the right crowd or get the right grades and things along that line. Where the most popular clothes or whatever. Once you graduate from high school, you will learn none of that has any bearing on your life.
That's right.
None of that. Because what people start thinking of you after you get out of high school is basically what you project for them to think of you.
Yeah.
Because your grades don't matter. What strangers think of you don't matter. You're not trying to win a popularity contest. And you just trying to get through this thing they call life. So again, don't even waste your time and your energy worrying about what somebody else think about you. Because once you graduate from high school and college, it don't even matter, bro. For real.
It don't matter.
Adulting is real.
It is. So enjoy. Yeah. You enjoy your childhood. You enjoy the adolescence, that teenage, that young adult. Man, coming to this side of it.
Yeah.
You gotta love it then. You gotta love it now so you can love it even more later. Because life is not that hard.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Jeff, you ain't say it.
Life is not that hard.
Oh, okay.
It really, really isn't. I think
Oh,
sometimes
man.
we make it harder than what it is, but
yes, we do.
We really do. We really do. All right. So thank you once again, Jeff and King. Thank y'all so much. Our those who logged on and stayed with us. Thank you so much for your input and your, your love. Hey, love on someone. Like
Yes.
find somebody. Just love on them. Love on them. Make them smile. Y'all have a great night. See y'all next Thursday.
We out.
All right.
deuces.